Hi, guys, and welcome back to That's Crazy. I'm Stella.
And I'm Omid.
How you doing, Omid?
I'm thriving
Let's
today.
go.
I'm just in a good mood. I feel like I haven't necessarily just been all myself these past couple of days. And I've just been really meditating. I've been starting to meditate.
Love?
And I've been using this app on my phone, and it's just teaching me how to breathe.
Okay, cool.
And I've really been waking up. We've talked about this, and I haven't necessarily been going on my phone, but I've been waking up and feeling grateful and just really kind of like analyzing my life and just being like, you know what? Thank goodness I woke up today and I'm breathing and I do a little meditation. So that's really been helping me out. So it's been a good week.
Beautiful. Love that.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been reading this new series of books.
Ooh.
It's a series about orcs. It's orc romance novels.
Excuse me?
I wonder if anyone's actually read them. It's the Orc Sworn series. If anyone's read them, let me know, because
like
I feel
Shrek, baby girl?
I mean, one could say like Shrek, but these orcs are a little bit hotter than Shrek, I would like to imagine. In my mind, these orcs are hot. So I've been reading that. That's been exciting.
Okay.
You know, it's not often that you find a new kink.
A new, like, okay, a little Shrek, little Shrek fantasy, orc
orc porn.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's been very exciting.
Damn,
it's very exciting.
Shrek gone wild. Today, we're here to talk about a lot of different things that I've had a lot of questions about.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people will have questions about this too.
And the thing is I actually have never talked to you as your best friend, have ever talked to you about this.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we're actually unpacking something that I've genuinely had a lot of questions about. And I think it comes with the conversation we're having today. I feel like is layered, because when you live in LA, there's so much that you see, there's so much you go through, you know, that you don't necessarily see behind the scenes, and that you feel like, yes. So today, I just want to know a little bit more about your life growing up.
Yeah.
And you as a person, because you've got an amazing sister.
Yes.
Love. And your sister has been notable for a very large portion of your life.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people, I feel, growing up were like, oh, even with me, and I'll be transparent, like, oh, that's Vanessa's sister. She's Vanessa Hudgens' sister. But it was like, but that's like my friend.
Right.
So it's like, and I've never brought this up to you. It's like, I can only imagine what that was like for you, to be like, everywhere that you go, you're someone's sister.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because it's something that I've dealt with for so long now. You know, people, when they find out that I'm related to her, kind of act a certain way. It's made it kind of difficult, especially when I was younger, to find friendships that were authentic, because as soon as someone would learn that information, you never really knew what you were going to get. So you could either get someone that's like, oh, that's cool, like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, or someone that's like, oh, like, you know, and they kind of form a friendship with you because they want the perks of being close to someone who does have like a famous sibling.
Yeah.
So as I'm like an adult now, it's interesting because, you know, like when I was streaming on Twitch, I had this thing where I didn't really want anyone to like be watching me because of the fact that I was her sister. I think it's so hard, because whenever you have like a very successful sibling, with any sibling, there's always going to be the aspect of comparison.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't even need to be a sibling that's successful or famous. There's always going to be comparison.
Yeah.
So that's always a part of, you know, the role, but like it has been an interesting thing navigating, kind of being able to set, you know, something that's for myself that doesn't feel like people are just watching me or, you know, supporting me because I'm linked to her. So on Twitch, like I wouldn't like let anyone ask me about those things. And my mods,
how would they ask you about it?
People would just be like, are you Vanessa Hudgens' sister? And like, can you ask Vanessa this, and this for me? And my mods on Twitch were great. They were amazing because they knew how to kind of address these questions if people were to come in and be like...
And mods, just for anyone that doesn't know what mods is.
So yeah, a mod on Twitch is basically someone that watches your Twitch chat and can time people out, can delete messages, can ban people for you. Because as a streamer, when you have people watching, you can't be like looking at all these messages and then you yourself timing people out, deleting messages. That's just too much while you're streaming.
Right.
So you essentially have people that, you know, want to do it for you.
And those are people that you select.
And you select them.
Got
yeah,
it.
For sure. So I had a great team of people that I met throughout my Twitch journey. They would delete these messages. But so often, like one of my rules on Twitch was like, don't ask Stella any questions about her family members. Because for me, there were people that were watching me on Twitch that didn't know who I was related to.
Got it.
They just found me and they were like, I like her vibe. I like watching her fucking play video games and be absolutely shitty at them. And then they find out this information that I'm related to Vanessa. And then it kind of turns into like a different thing, which I just didn't love. I wanted to curate a community that watched me for me and just solely because of me. And so that was really difficult because I think so often, like when people learn that about myself, they see me in a different way, and it kind of puts me in this box of being like in her shadow,
right,
almost. And for so long, I've been trying to like not break away from that because I accept that and I love that, but like I want to be able to have my own identity. And my identity is not being her sister. And so that was something that I really was able to kind of like dial in on that I never had done before. You know, people always come into all different aspects of my social media and my work or whatever, and they're always kind of asking me about Vanessa. And I'm like, that's fine, that's great. But if you're here for me, then you're here for me. If you're wanting something from her, then you go to her. I'm not like a messenger, you know? And so that's always been kind of like a difficult thing. Now, as I've gotten older, I've been able to kind of navigate it better, but it's hard because I've had so many moments where like these comments will kind of get to me and make me feel like I'm like an imposter or fraud, that people only know who I am because of Vanessa. And I'm like, sure, that definitely made people kind of know who I am, but people stick around because of me. And that's something that I always had to kind of remind myself, you know, almost every famous person has a sibling, and not every single one of them are kind of, you know, in the industry or, you know.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you feel like because your sister was in the industry that you felt like you needed to also be in that space?
Right. Not that I needed to. I think for a long time I was trying to get into that because that's what I knew. Growing up, you know, Vanessa decided that she wanted to be, you know, making music and be acting and kind of like follow that career from a very young age before I was even born. So when I was kind of surrounded by all this, it was all I knew. And I was like, yeah, this seems like fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized that like those things were great, but it wasn't like my passion. It wasn't my driving force. Like though I like to make music and I like to act, like those aren't the things that fuel my spirit.
Yeah.
So there were times where I was kind of doing it because it's all I knew. And then as I got older, I realized like, oh, I don't really want to be in acting classes. And oh, I don't really like auditioning all that much. So it allowed me to kind of pursue different career aspects and choices. But yeah, I think like when you're raised around that, it's so easy to think like, well, this is what I think I'm going to do too. And Vanessa was the first person to get into acting in our family.
Yeah.
No one else in our family was in acting. So there were moments where I was like, that's cool. And I have like certain dreams where I'm like, I'd love to be in like an action film.
Of course, we've talked about this all the time.
Yeah.
Like we've and I obviously was always been supportive of your ventures and what you want to do. And I feel like you've gone through that where you've just tried it out. You've definitely tapped into that and you just figured out maybe that's just not what I'm truly past. So, okay. So then what's interesting is like, did you ever feel like you wanted to reach that notability because of your sister? Because like if you think like, do you feel like you needed to reach that sense of because for you, and I'm going to be transparent with everybody. Stella is the type of person that like, if you didn't know who like her and her last name, like she's just a normal girl. Like, and I don't think you ever strive to be like famous or like you know, like you do social media, but like it's not for the sole intent of becoming this huge, like you don't, you know, like
yeah, no, fame is not a driving force for me.
Yes.
I've seen, you know, fame has kind of shifted now. Like when I was growing up, I remember being like 10, 11 years old. Paparazzi used to be so fucking bad at that point. They would literally follow her everywhere that she went. Yeah. Therefore, meaning following her whole family. Yeah. And so I would always like have these memories of just like trying to go to dinner, trying to go to the grocery store, trying to do things with my family.
What was that like for you?
I mean, for me, like, I was so young that I was kind of desensitized to it very quickly. I was like, oh, I guess this is just what life looks like. Yeah. When now looking back at it, I'm like, that was not normal. I don't know how it's legal for paparazzi to have followed her around like that. Like, it was so bad. There were times where, like, she would be on like a High School Musical tour and we'd be like overseas or something and we'd be like leaving the airport and there would be like the most insane mob of people just like fully surrounding everyone to the point where like we were literally surrounded by bodyguards and people like trampling us, and it was so not safe, so not okay.
And you were genuinely concerned, like you were. I
mean, it was scary because like I'm fucking 2 feet tall, a tiny child. Like, what is happening here? There's so many flashing lights, so many people screaming. Those things were definitely super intense. So like, for me, I think that I was just kind of like, what is happening here? But I couldn't really process it because I just didn't even have the capacity to know that that's not normal and that's not like okay. So that was really bad. And I think like they're seeing that like people always have this thing where they're like, well, like if you signed up to be an actor or a musician, then you're signing up for the limelight and getting your personal information out and everything that you do, everyone that you date.
It's like part of the job.
It's a part of the job. But I'm like, that seems really unfair. Sure, like if you are successful in that industry, it does come along with, you know, your life kind of being in everyone's business, on tabloids, on everything. But I don't think that should be like, you know, cohesive with each other, that it's like if you're famous, then like your life turns into a completely open book. So for me, like, yeah, I was never searching for fame. I think if you ever search for fame, you're just going to be unhappy.
Yeah, you're going to be unhappy. And most likely or not, it's not going to happen. Because you have to be passionate about what you're actually passionate about.
Absolutely. And like, I kind of gained my following from, we've talked about this before in a previous episode, where I gained my following through Tumblr. Yeah. Like I literally had a Tumblr. People loved it. That's where I gained a lot of, you know, my supporters. And that was amazing because that was solely just because of me. Yeah, for sure. And I was like, okay, these people vibe with me. They like me. And that kind of just fell into Instagram because then Instagram became a thing. And before I knew it, I was like in the world of an influencer, but it was never something that I actually sought out, you know, like I was influencing before there was a name for it. So that was kind of just like my fucking job before I even realized that it was a job. I was like, oh, I'm getting paid to do this, but also like this doesn't feel like work. Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm like, I don't search for fame, and I don't search for trying to like match up to the level of her success, because I think success is completely relative. I find a lot of success in the things that I do. And I'm very happy in the things that I do, and I'm very open to trying new things, but it has been difficult to try new things because, you know, I don't feel like I really have the luxury of being able to try and fail without people kind of being a part of that process.
Of course.
So it makes it almost a little bit more difficult to try things. Like when I made a blog, and I'm sure some people that are listening or watching has followed me since then. I had a blog in like maybe 2016, and I was really passionate about it because I liked writing. I liked taking photos for it. I liked bearing my soul to these people. And I don't know how many months I did it, but then I kind of got to the point where I was like, this isn't really for me anymore. I'm not really passionate about it. I'm glad that I tried it. And, it's hard because people still to this day be like, are you ever bringing your blog back? Like, and it's hard because I don't want to let anyone down because I know that they liked it. But at the same time, like, I can only do what feels good for me. And I'm just like anyone else trying to figure out what I like.
We're humans.
We're fucking humans.
Yeah. You're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I have things that I know that I like doing, but I also never want to just be tied to one thing.
For sure.
I have so many dreams that I still have yet to accomplish because I've never even tried doing them yet.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a certain time and place for them. But it definitely is difficult because like the thing that I don't really love is like when I get into conversations and it like leads to being like, oh, and you're Vanessa's sister. Cause I'm like, sure, that's information. But also it's like, is that what you think my worth is?
100%. Let me ask you this. Growing up, was it hard for you to find friends that were genuine? And what was that like as far as finding friends that were really just friends for you rather than your sister?
Yeah, tough. Really fucking tough. I got burned by a lot of people.
And what do you mean by that? Like, how did you figure out what their intentions were?
So I had a girlfriend of mine she's like a ride or die sister. She was always very, very like supportive and, what's the word, like when you're like protective. She was very protective over me.
Okay.
And so there were a lot of times where she would tell me straight up, like, I don't like this friend. I see right through their shit. I don't like this friend. And I would always take what she said and like completely, value that and respect that.
Would you stop being friends with those people as soon as she would say that?
No. Not as soon as she said that. I took it to heart and I was like, okay, this is your opinion. I respect your opinion. So I'm going to learn if I share that opinion through my own time or not. Come to find out that majority of times she was fucking right.
Okay.
I definitely had a lot of people that came into my life that,
Are you still friends with that person that was telling you this today?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
she's like my
it.
sister.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, I think that like, with being friends with someone that is in the industry or successful in whatever means, there are perks to it.
Yeah.
That a lot of people like being able to be invited to certain things, being able to get the clout of hanging out with that person, being able to gain followers from being posted like with hanging out with this person. There's a lot of perks. So it's hard to find someone.
But those perks are relative to like, I feel like those perks are, I see what you're saying. Those perks are, if that's what the person's looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And a lot of people in LA
are
looking for that, or at least at that time, because it was kind of like a fast track to get your name like out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely had a bunch of people that like now looking back completely used me, like became friends with me and was constantly posting with me, constantly like wanting to make content. And then like I would bring them to things. They would like, they would fucking tell me, like they would constantly hype me up. They were basically just yes men.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love this person. This person makes me feel good. This person's down to do anything that I want to do. And then I got to a point where I was like, this person's only down to do everything that I want to do. Like, why aren't we doing anything that they want to do?
Yeah.
And then I would introduce them to other friends of mine that were also, kind of in the industry as well and had a name for themselves, and then like would just kind of cling on to them. And so I noticed that, and I think it's hard because at this point too, I was so young, I was so young. I barely knew what I was doing. And those people, who knows if they knew what they were doing or if they didn't, maybe they were just doing what felt right for them. That's their own journey.
Yeah.
But even to this day, like I'll still meet people where I'll see kind of through their shit and I'll be like, you only want to hang out with me when it's convenient for you and you know that you're going to get something out of me, but you don't really ask me like how I am.
Yeah.
You don't care for my well-being.
Yeah.
And I have like, sometimes I think about like, if I ever like became like wildly successful, I would love to have the information of how these people have treated me. So I could be like, fuck you. You didn't like me when I didn't have as much clout. Like, I mean, not that I ever like I'm trying to be like super successful. I know. If I ever did, like it would just be funny because I deal with that shit all the time and I see it.
What's interesting is that correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of your friends are like a lot of your OG friends currently.
Yes.
And you being one of my OG friends,
Yeah.
it's interesting because even with my friends that I have now, we've both been immersed in the LA culture. We've been immersed with the influencer culture and you know, that whole world. But when it comes down to it, the friends that I really connect with the most, and I know that they are going to ride or die with me, are the people that I've known since I was young.
For sure.
Like my high school friends. And you've been kind of the exception because you were in that high school friend group of mine, weirdly.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's
by like association.
by association. So it's like, I've seen from a lot of people that are on TikTok and social media more recently, it's a lot harder for them to find genuine friends now because that's like the sole thing that they're looking for is clout.
Sure.
So I can only imagine how hard it is if you're moving to LA or aspiring to come to LA. It's like you can't really it's hard to find genuine people because that's all they're striving to find and to be and to gain from their friends.
There are definitely certain people that are searching for that, and that's difficult. I've lived in LA like ever since I was teeny tiny. So yeah, a lot of my friends really are people that I've known for a very long time. And I'm not like the type of person that's on like the no new friends kind of vibe.
No.
But like a lot of my close friends I've known for at least 9-10 plus years because I feel safe with them. I know their heart and like I think when you get burned so much from friendships, you kind of start to like stray away from like being really close with someone new. It takes me time to like open up to people. I think that's definitely a lot of trust issues from the past. But it's amazing because I feel like it taught me to like guard my heart a little bit more and, you know, kind of like take my time to really get to know someone before I like let them in fully because those feelings of like having a friend betray you is not a good feeling at all. So yeah, that was something that was like super prominent. That hasn't been something prominent for me in a very long time, which is amazing because I really have been a little bit more selective and careful with the friend groups that I do surround myself with on a day-to-day basis. But at the time, it was traumatizing. It was like happening all the fucking time.
Was there ever a conversation that your sister had with you or your mom ever had with you about this? Like about like how to navigate, because obviously your sister was going through it. So like, was there ever a conversation with you? Like, you know, so this is like now becoming our family life. Like this is becoming like our family is now, our last name is huge.
I mean, I think that was just something that kind of was like happening regardless. Vanessa and I are like super, super close. And so there have definitely been moments where she and I have expressed to each other kind of like the difficulties that we've gone through with like that transition. And
because it happened when what age were you when it kind of just shifted?
I mean, I think I was maybe like 12, 13.
Okay.
It was never really a conversation that my family needed to have. Like, we always looked out for each other. Like, my family and I were, like, a very close-knit kind of vibe. And Vanessa and I were always, like, having very open conversations to this day. You know, if someone treats me in a way that I don't like, I'll be upfront with her and be like, no, I feel like this person is not really a good vibe. And, you know, X, Y, and Z is happening. Like, you know, we are very transparent with each other because we owe that to each other. You know, we always want to have sisters. Yeah, we always want to have each other's backs. But yeah, no, I think when it was, she started becoming like famous and like her like career was taking off, it was just all happening so fast that it wasn't really a conversation that any of us like needed to have because it was just like none of us know what's happening. We're all just fucking going through this at the same time. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure like, you know, there could have been a lot of moments where we could have all kind of gathered together a little bit more to make sure that we are all looking out for each other. But at the end of the day, like we always knew that we had each other's backs
like
and that we were just going through it.
Like, it's still a family dynamic.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, it's like, even now, like when I do meet new people, I'm always kind of like hesitant. Like it's so funny because there's something that I do all the time, which I think about, like if someone were to ever like come up to me, they would probably be like, what the fuck? But a lot of times when I'm like checking out of like a store, like this happened to me not that long ago where I was like at an Apple store and I was like buying this computer and the guy, I give him my card. Or I think I was like picking up the computer and I like told him he was like, what's your name? And I said, Stella Hudgens. And people a lot of times like get really weird when they hear that last name. They're always like, wait, like the Hudgens, or like, wait, like, are you related to like that Hudgens? And when someone's so vague like that, a lot of the times I just avoid like a conversation that like will make me feel uncomfortable. I'll just be like, who is the Hudgens? I don't know who you're talking about. I'm just trying to pick up my shit. If someone comes up to me and they're like, hi, Stella, like, I think you're awesome, I will completely greet them with open arms and an open heart and be so stoked. But when someone's kind of just like hearing my last name and then being like, the Hudgens, I literally will like just be like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, sorry. And it's maybe like kind of fucked up. But it's like, it's an uncomfortable conversation for me to have, because then what am I supposed to say?
That's
like,
your truth.
Yes, I am the sister to Vanessa Hudgens. Like, I'm not going to like go out of my way to have that conversation. If someone doesn't know me, what can I give them? Are they going to take a photo with me for what? They don't know who I am. So when people do know who I am, I'm super excited to meet them. I love meeting them. But when someone just hears my last name and they're like kind of getting starstruck, I'm like, you don't know me. You just know my last name. So I sometimes like kind of just completely like ignore it. And maybe if someone were to find out like that I actually am related to her, they'd be like, she's a fucking bitch. And maybe it is not the best thing to do, but it makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Because I'm not going to go out of my way to be like, yes, that is me.
And then have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Totally. I'm like, if you don't know who I am, then it doesn't need to. Are you going to ask me questions about her? It's just not. It's not my thing. Yeah. So that's definitely. So if someone has met me before and had that interaction with me, I don't necessarily apologize. But if that offended you, then that was never my intent. No. But it is one of those things that it's like, I really just like to do what feels good for me and what serves me, and like attaching myself to her, to make myself known or to give myself validation is not something that I do or will ever do. And that's like my truth.
This is great because I'm learning so much about you.
Yeah.
Because we've never had this conversation. Like it's because I don't think it necessarily needed to have this conversation. I think it's just like interesting, and it's very interesting. So it's a very interesting position that you're in.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
both of you guys to be in.
No, for sure. And for a long time, I think I was like really reluctant to have those conversations because I didn't want to even bring light to it. I was like so badly just trying to be my own person. Yeah. And I like literally for a long time was like, I want to just drop my last name. I want to just be Stella. So people just know me as Stella. They don't hear my last name and associate things to her, because I don't want anyone to also, I mean, not that I care what anyone thinks, but for a long time I didn't want anyone to think that like I was getting opportunities just because of her. Like I worked really hard to be able to be to where I am now and the person that I am now. And sure, that like also includes like the help of my family supporting me, but like I was never trying to leech off of anyone to get to where I am now. Now though, I definitely am very comfortable talking about it because I feel like I've done my due diligence of like trying to fucking make sure that like people like me for me, and if people want to still attach me to that, then that's fine. I get it. She's a fucking icon, but so am I. So I'm like, it does not need to be a thing.
Are.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey. But I wouldn't change anything. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't change anything. And I'm super happy for her success.
Yeah. And just as your friend and both of your friends, it's like authentic. It's just truly authentic. Like the relationships, like people see what they see on social media and stuff like this. But at the end of the day, like it's genuine, and then obviously your relationship with your sister is genuine, as your relationship with your sister, she's just your sister,
Yeah, totally.
At the end of the day, like you guys go through the same thing that everyone else goes through as siblings.
For sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So it's real. And it's just, you just have a fucking cool ass last name,
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's funny because I'm like, I still sometimes think about dropping my last name just to fucking drop it. Yeah. Because I'm like, Stella on its own sounds cool as shit. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that like for a long time I was trying to like run from that. And now I'm kind of like, I am who I am. And like that definitely is a part of the process. But at the same time, like, I know I have so much to offer
And you
that,
do.
like, it's literally, like, doesn't really make that much of a difference to me.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that it is very interesting because I think I'm just so desensitized,
Yeah.
man. Like, I am so desensitized to,
Yeah.
like, meeting famous people or, you know, the things that go on with living in LA and, like, kind of being in the industry by association. So I definitely am very desensitized, but I can imagine that it is, like, very interesting. And, you know, I think that, like, I'm very blessed because the majority of people that do support me are people that just want to see me thrive and want to see me
they
succeed.
love you and your character and
For sure.
what you're doing.
For sure. Yeah. And so I feel very blessed for that. I feel blessed to, like, have a community of people that, like, just like me for me. Because for a long time, it was definitely like they were kind of one and the same.
For sure.
And I think that, like, you know, throughout the years, I've been able to kind of, like, establish myself as an individual.
And be your own person.
And I'm still working on it too. You know, I'm still working on what serves me and, like, having things that are solely just for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of, like, being in, like, the shadow of her, that doesn't really feel like a thing anymore as it used to.
Good.
So yeah, and I'm super proud of who she is and who I am. So I'm like, it worked out.
Hey, it worked out, and that's what
worked
we
out.
all should strive to be. It's like,
Yeah.
no matter who, friends, family, anyone that we're associated with, at the end of the day, like, you know, you just got to be your own person, and you got to be able to succeed as your own, and just continue, because at the end of the day, it's yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. Damn, I love that we talked about this. And thank you for being honest and open.
Of course.
And I am just glad that we talked about this. But I love you guys.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening
And watching. And let us know what kind of topics you guys want us to chat about, because we're full of ideas, but we want to know what you guys want to know too.
Yeah, we want to know.
Because we're getting, you know, this trend of being bold and vulnerable is, I think, just so liberating for the both of us.
It is very liberating, for sure.
So
I feel free.
I feel free.
I feel naked.
I feel great. We love you. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.